Please join me in welcoming Dr. Edward Phillips.
Thank you guys. It's a privilege to be here. You better start the timer, otherwise I'll be here all day. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for the introduction, Mimi. I'm always, as I get older and I've done more with my life, the introduction gets longer and then I have less time to speak, or I have to speak faster or something. Where are we? So that's who I am. We got that. And then, I'm going to be with you for 2 hours. This is the first hour. Can I just pause for a minute to say that the weird thing about this room is that half of you are looking to the right and half of you are looking to the left, and I've got Ashley here and paying attention in the middle. It's a little bit like the political divide, but I won't get into too much. But maybe we'll I'll tell you when to look at the slides. So we're going to talk about health behaviors, and we're going to start with yours and you'll learn why. We're going to talk about how that affects the rates of premature death, healthcare costs, and chronic disease, which fills our days as we try to get through our patient schedules. Rather than just whining about what is wrong, I'll offer a response, which is lifestyle medicine. And then we're going to explore your personal health behaviors as part of this couple of hours. That's disclosures again, the books and okay. But I would like to actually kind of get us grounded by starting with a mindfulness exercise. There's some beautiful trees you can look at, and I'm going to invite you to participate. You can push your computers aside. You don't need to look at a screen for this. In fact, it's probably best not to. And I'm just going to suggest that we're going to start by centering ourselves so that we can be more fully present. Being mindful of ourselves, our surroundings, and each other is important. Centering is a type of mindful awareness that may be new to some of you. Practices like this don't have to take a lot of time and can even be as short as a single breath. Let's start by making ourselves comfortable in our chairs. It's best not to be holding anything. Place both feet on the ground and let your hands be light in your lap. I invite you to close your eyes or to soften your gaze. Take a breath. Notice how you are in the chair. Notice how the chair supports you. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Make any adjustments you need to feel comfortable. Settle in to a feeling of ease, of softness, of noticing. Just notice your breath, that wonderful gift of life, in and out, in and out. We do it all day long and night, usually without even thinking about it. In and out, in and out. Where do you feel your breath? You don't need to change anything. There is no right way to breathe your own breath. The way you breathe is your way, your unique way. Just notice. Try to release the movies and pictures in your head. It's natural for our minds to be busy, and we can try to calm our busy thoughts and just be. Be present. Let those busy thoughts float away like clouds and just breathe. Just be. Be your breath. In and out. In and out. Rest in the knowledge that you don't need to change anything. Just notice. In and out. In and out. Now take a few more breaths and slowly return your focus to your body here in this room, to this room. Here and now. And when you're ready, slowly open your eyes. Thank you. It's a little bit selfish because you guys will be a much better audience now. So just wanted to thank you for participating. What we just did took 3 minutes or so. Sometimes if you practice this a little bit, even a single breath as you enter the exam room for your next patient is enough for you to come back to who you are and the fact that you can breathe, and we're going to be centered. I'm going to focus now on my talk with Ashley because I've centered myself. So with that, I'm going to change the emotion a little bit and say, there's a few problems out there. We die too soon. The combined impact of lifestyle behaviors or factors such as physical inactivity, obesity, poor diet, cigarette smoking, and alcohol. Conservatively, about 2/3 of all premature deaths. Which of these factors is a disease in itself? Just look through. It's actually obesity we need to set aside, not as a behavior or it is a factor, but as a disease itself. And we can talk about that a little bit more. So we're dying too soon. Those in our room, our loved ones and our patients. And on our way to a premature death, often defined as like dying before age 70, we are sicker than we need to be. So 70% of cardiovascular disease, this is written by a Boston-based cardiologist, 70% of cardiovascular disease could be prevented or delayed by changing dietary choices and making lifestyle modifications. And here's an old one that I keep on here because now it's a historic thing. About 15, what years was it? Oh my gosh, going on 20 years ago, the WHO, the World Health Organization, predicted that by the time we got to 2020, a quaint date from the past, that 2/3 of all global disease would be lifestyle related. In other words, this is global. This is not just a U.S. phenomena anymore. And if we're not already dead or infirmed or on our way to that, we're spending way too much. So, so $3.5 trillion, whatever it's going bigger than that, is the healthcare expenditure in the U.S., and at least 78-80% is spent on treating chronic disease. So I will share with you a recent horrific conversation that I heard at a major hospital near to here. I don't want to, name names, so I'll just use initials, MGH. And the conversation was about how the future is unsustainable financially because the cost of medical inflation is like double digits, and Blue Cross and Medicare or whatever are going up like 1%. So do the math. The more people we treat, the more we lose. And it's even hard to keep the lights on or to keep the ORs filled because there's not enough anesthesiologists, et cetera. What are we to do? And I sheepishly put up my hand and say, I just wanted to say for like the last 15 years, like we've been talking about lifestyle medicine and the idea that maybe we finally reached the breaking point where we can actually look at trying to change people's behaviors because this fix it when it's broken, we can't do that anymore. And that's the stress that you're feeling in your practices. And that's the stress. I mean, thank God you guys are here. Think about your colleagues that have quit, because they're too burnt out, and now they just sort of say, I'm sorry, I'm out of here, and then now you've got their panel of patients. So what contributes to our health? If you break this down, you talk about socioeconomic factors. We're not going to spend a lot of time on that, except that leads to poorer outcomes with COVID. Health behaviors, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. Anyone here want to blame their mom and dad for their health? Okay, 10%, 20 maybe. Clinical care. Think of all the training that you went through to become nurse practitioners. Think about the college. Think about the ongoing clinical education. At least it's at a nice place, right? All of that. And at the end of it, we account for maybe 10% of the factors that contribute to your patient's health. That's as my wife would say, that's a really bad tip. All right, that's like an insulting tip, 10%. Like, we think that, if they just come in and they, spend some quality time with me, I'm going to, change their behavior. Well, yeah, some, but let's get real about that. In the United States, how are we doing? This is a slightly dated slide. It goes up to 2015. The way to read this slide is the average life expectancy is on the left there, from 74 up to like 82 years. As you read across with those purple bars, those are all of the countries in the world where you could move today and live a longer life than in the US. Okay, so, and I think we're up to like number 35 or somewhere in the 30s now. So you have a lot of choices if you want to go outside the United States and live a longer life. But there's no place you can go on the planet and spend more money for worse health. And that's what where it says United States, that's the costs. And the more recent figures are as horrific. We're paying a lot, we're not getting a lot for our money. So when a patient comes in to see you, what is it that we're trained to see? Like I was trained, like I am a doctor, you guys are trained as nurses, I've got psychologists and physical therapists and all that, and we're trained to sort of see the physical person in front of us. Like what are you complaining about? What's the issue? Is it time to do the sexual health history like you just heard? Is it time to talk about, their medication compliance for whatever it is? Like what? That's what we're trained to do. That's the problem. The problem list is there, but there's other things, and this already. And I'm going to sort of draw us below the waterline here, where most of the iceberg is, to say, maybe we should be talking about what our patient's meaning and purpose is, because that might dictate what they're actually going to do when you start making recommendations. What's their life story? Not their entire life story, but just knowing them as an individual. How much are their relationships impacting them, positively and negatively? What culture are they in? You cannot understand all of the cultures of all of the people that you see, but you could be open to, understanding their experience with it, their emotions, where's their mind at? How are they feeling about things? So we're going to sort of go below the waterline. I've been working at the VA for the past 6 years. I am not from a military family. I'm not military, but I'm learning every day. And I'll share just like one from a Navy guy, hooray, who said, he would go to this prior picture and he would say, there's only one thing to worry about on a boat. He said, everything above the waterline is like for show. Like it's nice to have. Everything below the waterline is a must-have. You have a hole in the boat, the boat's gonna go down. If the engine doesn't turn, you're sort of, quote, dead in the water. We want to go below the waterline to the must-haves and the stuff that we've been ignoring. Is this news to anyone? Put up your hand. Has anyone ever seen or referenced the Joint National Committee version 8 to how to treat blood pressure? Has anyone actually read it? Okay. It's hard to read. You're sitting in the front row. I have to hit. What's your name? Jay. Jay, can you make out that little blue box there on the very top? The first thing you're supposed to. It's hard. I put it in big red letters for you. Can you read, Jay? Read the red letters there. I made it easy for you.
Implement lifestyle interventions.
And.
Continue throughout management.
So when someone walks in with blood pressure that's elevated, you're instructed, according to the official guide to this, that's used worldwide, implement lifestyle interventions, continue throughout management. And it says it repeatedly, and Jay will remind you of this, okay? Why do we skip over that box and go right to all of the other stuff, which is the medications? And this thing is a little bit dated. Well, I'm sure they'll be updating it. But we need to do the lifestyle piece. So what I'm speaking about is an evolving model promoting health and wellness, and it needs to be initiated immediately. The fact that this slide is 15 years old just gives you a trajectory of my life. Like I've been talking about this for a while. Now there's more people coming into it. A new paradigm needs to be set up to incentivize clinicians. I remember in maybe it was middle school, little spelling cues, like the word incentivize has got a little bit of money in there, or cent. You guys need to be paid in order to do this and to improve the behaviors and the health status of our patients. The existing model of care is no longer viable. Any dissenters from that one? Okay, we can talk over lunch also. A rapidly evolving healthcare landscape makes new opportunities for lifestyle medicine. And what I'm doing in the next time with you is inviting you along. Like what would it take for you to incorporate this into your lives and into your practice? Because we need to redirect how things are going. So we've been floating around 30,000 feet, looking at the landscape here. You're on a little tour plane over Cape Cod. Have you seen them up there? I think they're little biplanes. You can see the beautiful landscape and the lay of the land here. So health behaviors are the root cause. Let's start kind of going in a little bit. And rather than just critique what's going on, or as my chief of staff says, if that's the end of your presentation, you've just been whining. All right, where's the problem solving? So I'll propose that lifestyle medicine is our best response. Back 2009, I joined a writing panel, and this was early days for lifestyle medicine, and we ended up publishing in JAMA, and we defined lifestyle medicine as an evidence-based practice. So everything we're talking about is got gazillion articles. Like if you wanted to stack up all the articles that tell you that smoking is bad, you'd need a bigger building than this. I mean, it's like tens of thousands of articles. So smoking is bad, exercise is good, alcohol, jump ball, okay. And you get the idea. And of course, the literature is evolving. So all evidence-based. We want to assist individuals and their families. People don't just walk in alone. To adopt and sustain the behaviors to improve health and quality of life. And my role on the committee, when you're on a committee, and this was not written by an individual, in the committee, the word that I kept on pushing for was sustain. Because comes January 1st, like how many of you are going to join a gym, start a diet, take up my spin bike and my yoga mat, but by February 1st, the tourists are gone. Sustaining is the hard part. Losing weight is tough, keeping it off is harder. A few years later, a number of us met again, and the literature had improved. There was, thank God. And what we found, and this is like a huge take-home, is that, we could redefine it, evidence-based, et cetera. But when you talk about modifying behaviors, it's not just like, I shouldn't have smoked. 40 pack years later, I shouldn't have ever started. That's why I have lung cancer, heart disease, et cetera. But actually changing behaviors can both treat, and then I love this word, reverse certain illnesses. There is no greater joy in clinical medicine than when I take a history, for a patient I've known for a while, and I ask, and I get to the part, and I go like, how's the diabetes? Oh, diabetes, I have that under control. Meaning like I still have it, but now that I lost some weight, got more active, I'm compliant with the medicine that you did give me. I managed to fill in the blank, get off the insulin, et cetera. So the reversing an illness. Cardiac disease is also possible. So what more are you looking for out of your lives, your clinical lives, than to hear a patient say like, you remember what you told me? Of course I remember. It's all written down here. You remember when I told you actually 15 times. Remember when I listened that 15th time, and I finally started, and I include taking the medicine and taking a walk and lifting the weights and modifying sleep, et cetera. When I started to do that, and things started to change. So that's what we published in 2014. And in the meantime, since there's a wonderful organization that I'm on the advisory board for, which is the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. It is a professional society. There's an active group of nurses, which I'll reference. And the graphic for this, which we'll go through, are 6 basic behaviors or pillars. So no particular order. Sleep. Who slept well last night? Was it the waves? Was it the fact that you weren't home? The fact that you didn't have a full panel today? Like whatever it is, this is lovely. Who's going to sleep well, next Sunday night before you're going back to work? What might change? Sleep. To me, my life changed when I learned how to sleep. My kids say of me in a very nice way, oh, my dad, he'll do anything for you, except after 10 o'clock at night. Like unless the house is burning down, like do not ask me questions of importance. Do not expect me to give you a full answer. Like I am like entering the, I'm going to go to sleep for the night routine. Now, when the morning comes around, I will, do anything for you until 10 o'clock the next night. Tobacco, we've known this, and one of the main things here to appreciate is that if you have any question about whether we can shift the culture towards a more active culture that's eating better, that's caring for itself better, that look at tobacco. And I'm old enough to remember tobacco ads on television. I'm old enough to remember tobacco in the hospitals. And when I was a medical student, how I would come home from the psych unit, on the psych rotation, just reeking of tobacco because both the patients and the staff were smoking. And the most horrific story, you ready? I remember a patient, I was taking their history. This is in Buffalo, New York, and I'm taking the history, and like the charts were like this big, and I'm like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I go like, so Jay, like, do you smoke? He goes, oh, I smoked for 20 years, I quit. And I go, and now? He goes, I started again. And I go, oh, I'm just writing down when. He goes, about 2 weeks ago. And I go, okay. And I just like, I'm ready to like report that. And then I realized, wait, how long have you been in the hospital? 3 weeks? You started smoking in the hospital? And he goes, yeah, everyone else is smoking. And I just went down to the basement and I bought like, they have cartons, like they're, like it was a good deal. Like, and so that has all changed for various reasons, but the culture has shifted. It's no longer cool to smoke. At least in this country, So what if it were? It's no longer cool to sit in a conference. You should all be standing, and you'll be. You're welcome to stand up at any point. What about stress? How can we? The word management is questionable, but how can you make yourself more resilient, more open to managing your stress? That's another area. Relationships. Lots of literature recently, which has more to do with the fact that who we hang out with and the fact that we hang out with people and that we want, we need to be with people. It has so much to do with our health. And I find it really interesting, like after 2.5 years of being, holed up in front of a computer, when NPACE said we're going to have a live conference, how many of you were like, it'd be tough to prove, but you guys are probably more people than the average, like the ones that just said, like, I cannot do another Zoom conference. Like, I'm driving all the way to Cape Cod, and I'm going to, at least be with other people, even if we're wearing masks, which I still encourage people to do, just be together. Nutrition, is that the root of it? Yes, but understand that there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of cultural things about nutrition, and I'll talk about this podcast where we try to unwrap people's relationship with their nutrition. And then my favorite, I put it at the end, and doesn't matter to you except that it's my favorite, and it's what got me into lifestyle medicine and into my field, which is rehab medicine, is exercise. Physical activity, consistent. Mimi was talking about it. What'd you do this morning? What are you going to do this afternoon? When in the future do I get to come back here and there's a bunch of treadmills in the back and people kind of, just saying. We could, people are sort of changing it up. So with that, I'd like to overcome the irony of talking about exercise to a bunch of people sitting down. This is a picture of the body from the Body World exhibit. There's a skeleton in the back there. There's muscles in the front. It's not mom and dad. It's the same body. You have control over your muscles. I'm going to invite you because I've got Mimi and Ashley here. They said, do you want me to call you Eddie or Dr. Phillips? I said, you call me Dr. Phillips, I call you Nurse Collins. So it's Eddie. All right, so you guys this is your cue to stand up at this point. There we go. And I'm going to do what I think feels good to me. I'm going to reach all the way up to the heavens here. Feel a little bit of stretch here. And then, all right, Ashley and Mimi, remember, do what I do, not what I say. Everyone lean to the right. There you go. Oh, do you feel that leaning to the right? A little side pull maybe? Good. All the way up. And now lean to the left. Okay. This is not a political statement, but welcome to Massachusetts. We're going to stay like this forever. All right. Everyone leaning to the left. Okay. Actually, it's more important to be in the middle and to feel that, okay? And to feel what both sides feel like. Now, this is a competitive crowd. Like, why not make it a little bit tougher? Come up on your toes and lean to the right. Oh, does anyone feel a little side pull? Does anyone feel pain shooting down their leg into their foot? If so, I'll give you my card. Okay. All right, and we're going to go to the other way. Oh, excellent. Separate your feet like 45 degrees, kind of out to the sides there. You know those big therapy balls, those, the green, whatever colors? We're going to roll one to you, and you're going to catch it between your legs, and you're going to pick it up and push it up to the heavens. Oh, and Ashley just rolled another one to you. Good. And Mimi's got two more coming down. Good. Oh, my God. And another one. And we've already tricked them into their 5th squat of the day. Excellent. Good. And we're going to do one more. Good. Pick up your left leg all the way up high as best you can do. Lunge it forward. Lock the back hip in. Okay, and anyone that's been near a yoga class in the last 20 years is going to say, don't my arms come up at this point? Sure. Don't I feel some pull or some release in my back hip flexors? Yes. If you're getting pain shooting down your legs, come to me and I'll give you a referral. And you should feel a little bit of pull, really good for young runners, really good for old walkers. People sitting, particularly good for old runners as well. Little pull, that's it. Just settle in, push a little bit, and let's be balanced. Pick up the other leg. I've lost track. Turn up, and the arms float up. Ah. Well, you guys are good. Are the organizers taking pictures at this point? Oh, good. All right, and let's kind of like jog it out. In this case, just pick your heels up off the ground. Your toes are down. Your elbows are going. But Jay is like, oh, my God, why can't I just do a little bit more? And his knees are coming up. And his elbows are flying. And Ashley is going at it. And we're going to go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Big deep breath. Ah, and breathe. You may sit at your own peril. I'm going to continue. Thank you. Thank you, Mimi. Jay, thank you. I'll remember your name. Don't worry. All right. Just like shout out. Just put up your hand. Shout out. What did you just experience? Joy. Energy. Anything else? Ah, Jay's heart is racing. Other audiences have said maybe a little novelty. Why don't we do this at every talk? A little bit of challenge. Did they really want me up on my toe? Yeah. How fast were you reminded of your own physicality? That it's not just like, I'm at the course, I'm supposed to learn knowledge, blah, 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 Was there any physical discomfort that was released by, I did the stuff that makes me feel good. So were there any neurotransmitters released? Probably. Was it fun? You'll decide. So assumptions we've made to date. Modifiable lifestyle choices are the root cause of most death, disease, and healthcare costs. I think we kind of nailed that when we were floating at 20,000, 30,000 feet. We're calling out physician stuff here because that's where the literature is better, but holds any clinician that the patient trusts. Is anyone here trusted by their patient? Okay. If you talk about counseling on lifestyle, they will listen. Okay? At the VA, where like the nurse practitioners, my patients refer to them, in a nice way as, oh, that's my doc. PA, NP, primary care. It's just like that. That's the one that's taking care of me. You talk to them about lifestyle, they will listen. At least for they'll try something. And yet, again, the literature is better on physicians, we don't do it enough. Even though it's potent, even though we need to do it. And why? Because there's a lack of lifestyle medicine education for all health professions, trainees, and practitioners. That's what I've been trying to modify for the last umpteen years. And for the couple hours I have with you, I get a chance to, with this audience, to actually modify, so maybe you learn a little bit of something. There's articles about this. This is from American Association of Nurse Practitioners, A Practical Approach to Obesity Prevention, Healthy Home Habits, about how nurse practitioners can integrate and talk to their patients about just tweaking things. Like let's shed that first few pounds. That actually makes a huge difference to patients with obesity. There is a Journal of Lifestyle Medicine that's been out since it started in 2007. There's an encyclopedia. This is now the 3rd edition of the encyclopedia. And there's an American college that I mentioned. It's one of the fastest, or probably the fastest growing medical or health professional society on the planet. There's thousands of members, probably hundreds of nurses that belong. And you're invited to take a look at that. And there's a group, so within ACLM, American College of Lifestyle Medicine, there's about 82, I think last count, interest groups. One of them are nurses, and may even be more specific. And several of them wrote an article in the journal, The Critical Role of Nursing in the Burgeoning Field of Lifestyle Medicine. The specific role for what a nurse is able to do that a doctor doesn't have the time or the wherewithal to do because we don't spend as much time with patients. There is a global alliance. So countries and continents around the world are doing lifestyle medicine, whether your family or you are from Lithuania, or where are we looking at, Malaysia or Portugal, like there's a group for you, or you just join the American College or look at it. You can certify in lifestyle medicine now. So there's an American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. And as a point of disclosure and pride, I was a founding director of this. We started in 2016 with, healthy expectations, but no one predicted that in the first 5 years we would have over 3,200 diplomates around the world. So this includes physicians, those with PhDs, and health practitioners would include sort of non-physicians. And it's global. There's an international board. And this year there'll be another exam in November, December, and we'll be well over 5,000 people in the first 5-6 years, which is just amazing. I mean, I'm an optimist, but I wouldn't have predicted this kind of uptake. This is a graphic that we're going to get deep into in the next hour. And this is what you'll find on the wall throughout the VA, which is lifestyle medicine mixed together with a healthy dose of integrative medicine, complementary integrative medicine. The program is called Whole Health, and it dictates the care that we're giving. We're trying to change the fundamentals and the foundation of how we talk to our patients and how we take care of ourselves. So this is the circle of health. You're going to get a sheet to work on this. I just wanted to sort of put that in context here. So you guys are already getting excited. Like, I can't wait to get back to work to talk to my patients about what I just heard and the fact that I tried a new recipe and started, breathing in the morning, and I went to bed 15 minutes earlier, and I'm drinking, whatever behavior change you make, understand that most of you and most of your patients will have multiple lifestyle goals. Okay, so it's not just like, if you just go to bed 15 minutes earlier, your life will change. It'll be a little bit better. Water is going to help, cutting back smoking. You get the idea. So most people have a lot of goals. Your excitement, all right, the fact that, you decided, I'm just going to, do that breathing. And like when you walk in and you go like, you say to every patient, like, you should meditate. Like, no. If you're meditating, you can share that with them, but your excitement is not what's most important. What's the most important thing in the room when you're talking to your patient? It's their agenda. So we years ago, they started talking about patient-centered medical homes. Like at the VA, we talk about patient-driven. And you know what? I don't really like to drive. It's too stressful. I'd rather have you drive, especially if it's your car. Now I might guide you, right? You might want to take the highway. You might want to get off this dirt road that's breaking the car down. But you're driving. The patient-driven agenda is most important. I was explicitly taught in medical school to point a finger at my patient and say, "What's the matter with you?" Now this is the same finger that that my father, in a loving way, would ask this most wonderful open-ended question when I had done something that wasn't optimal. He would say, "What's the matter with you? What were you thinking? Were you thinking like, who would have done blah, 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 blah?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm 16 years old. Aren't you supposed to do stupid things? So, what's the matter with you? Like, and I was taught, because that's a quicker way to get to, like, I've got a problem to get through. You come in, I've got 15 minutes, like, what body part are we talking? I do musculoskeletal. Are we talking left knee, right knee? Is it like a lot of stuff hurts. What's the matter? The real question, if you remember nothing else from this entire experience, is what matters to you? Just rearrange the words a little bit. What matters to you? And it could be an answer of any, I don't know anyone else's name here. You in the second row. What's your name? Rochelle. Rochelle? Rochelle. What matters to you?
What matters to me? Personally?
Yeah.
My family.
Excellent. Would you do anything for your family?
Absolutely.
That's a good place to start. Because if I talk to Rochelle about, like, you should do this for your health, blah, 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 it's like, okay, but, my kid's got a soccer game and I have to work an extra shift to get my son through, to pay for his college, or whatever, blah, blah, like, it's about her family. That's what's going to dictate what she does. And we'll get into this, and thank you for answering. What changes are you willing to make to reach your goals? In other words, like, instead of just sort of saying, "Oh, we're going to prescribe exercise for you, blah, blah, blah," and like, no. Like, what changes are you willing to make because it might help your family, or whatever you think is most important? Where would you like to get started? Rather than, like, I wrote a book, 2009, it was called Exercise Prescription. Like, I would not write that book again now. It was like, it was too medical. It's like, I'm going to hand you this prescription and you're going to do it. Because instead of, because I'm trained to hand out prescriptions. So it was a big leap to say, let's prescribe exercise, and you should probably still do it. But, where would you like to get started? What makes sense to you? Understand that changing one thing actually makes it a little bit easier to do the next thing, right? So, when Jay says, all right, I'm gonna go for a walk for 5 minutes, and then he comes back and sheepishly tells me, I didn't do what you said. I walked 5 minutes and then I had to get back. So it was actually a 10-minute walk. Is that okay? Yes. And I got thirsty, so I started taking water. Like, oh, good. That's okay. And I was tired, so I went to bed a little bit early. Like, we're going the right direction here. So people gain in their self-efficacy. So what I'm presenting, hopefully, is not in just a vacuum. If you look at COVID, how could we not? The people that were most diseased, ended up with the most disease, the most hospitalizations, the most death, were people with chronic health conditions. It's really no different than over the last, decades, where flu comes around every year. We get our shots, hopefully, and tens of thousands of people die, and those are the ones that are already diseased. Well, like, multiply that, and you've got COVID. Is it systemic inflammation? What can we do? Just understand that the need to improve lifestyles is sort of like laid bare by our experience with COVID. It's not like, oh, we have to take care of COVID, and then come back next year, we'll talk about lifestyle. No. Lifestyle is going to help you deal with the COVID floating around. Burnout and suicide was rampant before this all came along. The statistics, again, are about physicians, 400 physicians a year killing themselves. It's the season for graduation. So you can come up to Harvard Medical School and we'll throw in Brown and, I don't know, where are you from? Hudson, Mass. Okay, UMass. Okay, we're throwing those schools. All those students, you can't choose what you want to do. You just have to replace the doctors who killed themselves this year. Really? Like, yeah, because, you know, it's really hard to replace docs and let alone the ones that are quitting early, let alone like, you know, the numbers of nurses that want to retire early or have already or are burnt out and, you know, sort of not performing. What if there were a practice in which you sort of wrestling with your patients, you danced with them and you felt like, well, they're driving, but this is not so bad, you know, like, wow. You know, my new friend from Hudson, Mass, like she's making changes and this is really cool. And I can sort of like take my foot off the pedal, so to speak. What if there were a practice like that, you know, might that keep you going? And for a lot of folks, you know, that's what lifestyle medicine is, bringing the practitioner. I think we'll start to get into a little bit more of, you seem to guys are following along, a little bit more into exploring our own self-care. So let's first off give you license to worry about yourselves, or not to worry, but anyone fly into Cape Cod here? And what do they say on the plane in some words? You could read it. You know, in a case of an emergency, put on your own oxygen mask first. You know why? So you can then help others. Okay, so we're going to tell you, we're about to distribute the oxygen masks. You have to put them on, so, and then you can help others. Let's see, what did I tell you not to forget? Oh, what matters most to you? If you remember nothing else from this talk, for yourselves, remember that self-care is not selfish. If you're better able to take care of yourself, to be grounded, to take a breath, to understand that you're trying to improve your life and the lives of your patients, and that, you know, things are not easy out there, but I'm going to show up and do my best, then you're going to improve the care of your patients. It will also transform your care. And tell me your name from Hudson, Mass. Janet, because Janet is coming in with this like smile on her face in the mornings now. She was doing it before, but now it's like infectious. You know, like what's going on, Janet? I don't know. I'm taking care of myself and everything else seems to be falling into place. I'm like, oh, tell me more. How does this work? You know, like you can change the culture of your practice. And I would say it's even more important under COVID. You already are, but you will be a role model for your patients. They are looking at you, okay? They're already looking at you. If you try to change some behavior, like you say to yourself, hey, you know, how hard is it to go to bed 15 minutes earlier? Try it, okay? You know, how hard is it to, you know, cook an extra vegetable or carry my lunch once, whatever you resolve to do. And then after a week, I check in with you and I'll give you my contact information. You go like, it seemed so easy when you were talking. You know, but then I went back to, and so at least you know the challenges. So when you talk to your patients, you're not just telling them, just quit smoking, for God's sakes. What's the matter with you? Don't you know it's bad? Like, self-care, you're going to do it for your own health and happiness. We talked about burnout. So this is your invitation to start thinking about, like, what small change might you make for yourselves? You should already be thinking about who's at home that's going to say, what do you mean we're only having red meat once a week? You know, like, oh, you know, I'll make it however you want. Like, just, you probably live in a context here. So you can't fill from an empty cup. So the idea is take care of yourself first. So think about some goals, and then we're going to do a little poll here. I'm going to invite everyone to stand up. We're going to do a little poll. It's somewhat anonymous. If you're uncomfortable standing up as part of this poll, don't worry. Many of you will be sitting very quickly. Okay? Here's the way it works, okay? If you smoke, vape, chew tobacco, use tobacco in any form, you're invited to now sit down. Okay. If you drink alcohol, you sit down. We're going over hurdles here. Okay, we have to see who gets to the end of the race. If you drink more than 1 drink per day on average, alcohol, then please sit down. If you, is this in the positive? I'm sorry, I'm saying it the wrong way. If you're, if there's no smoking, you stand. If you're drinking less than the alcohol, all right, I'm sorry, I flipped it around. All right, everyone stand up there. Okay. if you do not smoke, use vape, you listen so carefully, I like that. Then you sit down. If you're drinking less than one alcohol. All right. I'm sorry. Can I just tell you what happened here? When you do it online, it's exactly the opposite. It's okay. Let's do it this way. Sit down if you smoke, vape, or use tobacco. Okay. Sit down if you're drinking more than 1 drink of alcohol per day on average. Please sit down if you eat less than 5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. Please sit down if you're not getting 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity per week, like a brisk walk. Got it. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. Please sit down if you're getting less than 7 to 8 restful hours of sleep per night. Please sit down if you're not doing resistance exercise of about 30 minutes twice per week. Okay, wait a minute, we're almost there. Okay, for those of you that are still standing, we're going to do this quickly. I'm going to invite you to please share who or what inspires you. Gentleman in the blue shirt, whose name is? Mike. Who or what inspires you to do all these behaviors?
Lead an example.
And next to you? Health. And in the white shirt back there? Yep. Excellent. And in the family. And your name is? Melanie. Melanie's inspiration is?
My husband's very healthy.
Got it. Competition. Love it. Okay. And over there? You feel better. And back there? Say again? Stress control and feeling better. Jay?
Oh, my patience.
Patience. Ooh. Once again, if you want to continue to stand, you're welcome to. So I get inspiration. So I get inspiration from those who just reported what inspires them. And I think you heard everything from, like, duh, it's about health. Like, hello, like, I'm a health practitioner, to I just got to keep up with my spouse. So key points. Patient health behaviors are the root cause. We got that. Clinician self-care matters. We all have something to work on. Even the people that were still standing that are like all puffed out, like, I made it. Let's talk about, I don't know, relationships and other, there's always more health behaviors. And we talked about lifestyle medicine. I'm going to open it up for questions or reactions now. Oh, and Ashley gets to run around the room if you have.
We submitted them. Raise your hands if you didn't submit a question. There's only one that came in, but thank you. That was really fun and really important. The question was, what's the difference between lifestyle medicine and functional medicine?
Okay. So there's a bunch of fields that are closely aligned, but not overlapping. So if you think about, I'm sorry, I've been working at the VA for a while, like an armada of ships that are all floating in the same direction. They're talking to each other, but you can decide to get on the functional medicine ship or the integrative medicine ship or lifestyle medicine. So functional medicine is like a really fun, highly organized pursuit that gets deep into like how your body works. It is aligned with lifestyle medicine. It's a little bit, my experience referring to it and reading about it, which is fascinating, is that they're really on to something, like but some of the things they ask you to do would be for like the most highly motivated patients in the world. Like you start with an elimination diet and then slowly add stuff back in to determine what do you, it's not that you can't or shouldn't do that, except you have to be like really motivated to do that or really in need. Lifestyle medicine, like my approach and the approach of many others, is much more of like a public health perspective. Like rather than have specialists in lifestyle medicine, although they exist, I would rather have 200 of you change your conversation slightly at the next visit, so that you're asking about lifestyle, you're including this, and you're asking, as we'll get into in the second hour, what matters most to you. Now, at some point, you may want to refer to a functional medicine doc or the functional medicine nurse. The integrative medicine, all of the evidence-based practices, everything from yoga to Tai Chi, hypnosis, meditation, that, as an example, the VA actually is mandated to provide because there's enough evidence. And merging those together is what we do at the VA. So hopefully I answered that. Yes?
I don't know if this is a comment or a question, but I know a lot of people want to make these changes and they feel bad about themselves or they feel guilty because they can't. So I just wanted to point out those first couple slides with the, the iceberg and the graph. I've been trying to talk about that with patients so they know this is, so much of this is out of their control and they're not a failure, it's not their fault. But I sort of, after that, I don't quite know where to take it. Because as I said, there is so much that, is out of their control, that these things, the way they were raised, and so on.
So, great question, comment, observation that much of what goes on in our lives is out of our control. Like understanding what you have like some control over makes a difference. To use that car analogy that we said, where the patient is the driver, they may feel like they got a rotten car, and they're carrying around literally baggage from their youth, and they've got people that wish them poorly that are shooting darts at their tires, and but where they steer the car is still, to some degree, their control. I think probably the most important thing I've learned in the last few years is like this describes almost everyone's life. Like how much, what do you feel like you have control over? And where do you want to use that control that you have? I mean, I take care of folks that come in, and it's like, at the VA these days, the vets, like PTSD is just, endemic. Like you assume it. I don't have to like read the record, So you've been injured physically, psychologically. You're financially challenged. Your health is at risk or failing, and yet they're coming in to see me, and they're pointing at some body part or multiple, and in a weird way, I just kind of say like, okay, when we take care of your knee, what are you going to do that you couldn't do before? And then you get to like where their heart is. And I'll just tell one story. I'm sort of teasing the next hour. I had one guy comes in with all of those challenges, plus peripheral neuropathy and weakness, and he's seeing me because he's falling down. And I said, well, we can get you stronger, but there's things that we can do. And I asked, like, so what are you going to do when your balance is better, when you're not falling down? We've already established, in the first 5 minutes, that the guy was a Navy vet, and he's already shown me pictures of his fishing boat. That was like a given, right? No grandchildren, like, I want to show you my boat. Okay. So when I asked him, like, what are you going to do? Despite all these challenges, where do you find joy? And he looks at me, he goes, I'm going to go on my boat at night. And I was like, I said, why? He goes, that's when the magic is. And he starts describing it. And last night, I was sitting on this balcony looking out at the boats in the water and thinking about this vet whose goal is to get out there at night. Now, when he feels confident enough to go on the boat at night, and I don't think he's going to fall over into the water, et cetera, are all those other things going to be changed in his life? No. I mean, he still has all the baggage and everything, but he's like at least reached something that's bringing him joy. What will he do to get there? He said, now I'm going to do those exercises that 14 other physical therapists have told me to do, because now I have a reason. I mean, I hope this is helpful. It's sort of like that's what you do next. You find something for them to grab onto. And it may be like there's a storm at sea and your patient is drowning, and you're like, this is, here's the life ring. At least hold on to that. You're still drowning, but at least you can hold on until we figure out something. So.
Okay, thank you, Eddie.